So welcome on behalf of Volvo Cars to the XC90 test drive. This has been a long time coming for us. We've been working on the project quite a few years, and really it was the result of a completely clean sheet of paper. And it's really a dream for many of the people that are in the company, because it means we started with nothing, so we could do anything. That also has its own challenges as well, but as we've said as we go with this car, if we get this wrong, it's completely on us. We've got nobody else to blame. And we think we've got it pretty right. So we'll talk more about the product in detail. I'm going to talk a little bit of history first about the first generation XC90, which we launched back in 2002. It was a pretty successful car for us. We sold over 600,000 cars globally. In the US alone, we sold 250,000 cars. And we've still got a couple of cars somewhere buried in the network that are being registered this year. I think in the second year of production, it was actually the #1 selling European electric SUV in North America as well. It outsold the X5, the Mercedes LL, and of course the Audi Q7. So we were very, very proud of that. But of course the car was getting a little old, and Volvo got sold back in 2010. The separation from Ford, as I say, led us to a situation where we had a completely clean sheet of paper. Not only from a product perspective, but also at a time when we looked at what should Volvo be for the next kind of millennium, as it was. And we really went back to what Volvo always stood for back in 1927 when the company was founded. And what we're trying to do is just reflect that in today's world. So we have 3 very simple promises at Volvo. I'm just going to bring them in. And as a car manufacturer, we just want to be known as the company that kind of gets people. We're a very human-centric company. Always have been, and a lot of it, I guess, is because of where we're from, but also just the culture that's developed around the brand. The other thing, of course, about Volvo, it's known for safety. And we want to continue that, but broaden out the scope. So about this idea of protecting what's important for you. And the final thing as well, which I think you'll see more than ever in the cars that we have today, this idea that you should feel great getting into a car, you should feel even better getting out of the car. We want you to make you feel special about yourself, the product, from both a driving experience, an ownership experience, and just being associated with the brand as well. This has been a pretty drawn-out launch for us. We started talking about this car middle of last year. We're finally getting the cars here. In fact, most of our dealers now have got their demos in the US. And we've got the first group here today driving the cars from the media side. But when we first revealed the car, one of the things we wanted to do was to try and really find the early adopters, the people that really get excited about the car, and give them a very special offer. So we came up with the idea of developing 1,927 first edition cars, reflecting the year we were founded, 1927, coincidentally. And within 48 hours, actually 47 hours we've been told, we'd sold out completely, globally. And the US took just under 600 of those cars, 568. This was a car that nobody had ever seen in the flesh, nobody had ever driven. It was the most expensive Volvo we'd ever made. I think it was just under $70,000. And yet, from that response, we knew that we had something that was going to be pretty successful. So now we've got the demo cars here. The next cars, I believe, being built will be these cars. So these customers will get their cars before anybody else in the US and anywhere else in the world. Today, we've got just over, I think it's actually 29,000 people now that have said, yep, they definitely want to test drive the car. We've got about 50,000 people that have registered interest, and we've got over 2,000 sold orders in the US, and I think Dennis, is it 22 or 24,000 globally sold orders? 30,000. 30,000, actually, it's gone up already. So, again, without anybody really driving the car, it's looking pretty promising for us. And what I'd like to do now is hand over to Dennis and the rest of the colleagues, and they're going to take you through the project of the car in a lot more detail, so thank you.
Thank you, Rashid. So my name is Dennis Cavilius. I run the large cars, Volvo, that is all the coming 90 cars as we call it. The successor of the XC70, S80, V70, and then of course the XC90. But I would like to start off with the mission. What did we as a program team get as a mission from the executive management team? What did they put up as targets for us? And basically, those 3 things. They said that you need to be leading in safety. And we kind of took that for granted, so that was not a surprise. But then they also said you need to be leading in design. That was actually raising the bar a bit, quite a bit, I would say, for Volvo. Always kind of put it in the top 3 segment, that's good enough. But now we stated that no, now we need to be leading in design. And what does that mean? We'll come back to that tonight, so we'll have a chance to dig into that one. But then we had a third task, leading in human-machine interface. That is the user interface to the car, how you interact with the car. And then we took pretty bold decisions when it comes to that last point. And it's also very challenging because it's a lot of software and we are predominantly a hardware-focused company in the past. So that was kind of the phrase. And on top of this, of course, it says without going, we need to be leading when it comes to CO2 and fuel economy versus performance. And Mike will take you through that. But that's basically what we got as a task, to look through that. And it's of course so that we are based in Gothenburg, but we don't make cars based on Gothenburg preferences. So how did we do that? Well, we looked into this team. We had, from like 4 or 5 years ago, we had 20 to 30 persons based in, actually here, in Los Angeles, a reference group. There are some of those members in that group. Because we thought that if we can make an SUV, luxury SUV, that fits into the US consumers' luxury demands, then we have a global success. That was kind of what's behind it. So we started with that reference group. We have been part of their lives, we have been into their homes, we have been into their driving patterns, we have been, when they are out shopping, trying to understand what is luxury for them. We brought them over to Gothenburg, support people, and had a chance to review the designs in our design studios, checking out the early models, how likes, dislikes, tastes, all these kind of things. So they have been very helpful to us throughout the entire team. What else? Well, we believe that this team, this reference group in Los Angeles, and of course we have tons of different other clinics as well on specific things, but they took the entire car, their task. We believe that we managed to get into this, and then it's up to you to judge today, but the next generation of luxury SUV. When it comes to comfort, when it comes to exquisite natural materials, so what you have in the car today, that's this linear walnut, matte, nice wood. We've got a nice combination of chrome and high painted gloss surfaces. We've got areas with diamond pattern. We've got a nice surrounding. Something where you can sit, relax, and enjoy driving time. What else? We have found actually, and there are research out there, and tons of different research, but what they also claim is that you have, on average, around, check that, 181 hours in a car when you're commuting. That's the average American consumer.
Over what period?
Over what period? That's actually over a lifetime, I believe. So it's quite a bit. But it's actually around a month. And I can share the research data with you so you have some references that we like. And we also believe that there is around 10 million Americans that's got these kind of mega commuters in San Francisco, in California in general, in New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, these kind of cities. And of course, when driving them to work, commuting to work, we believe that we will be able to put kind of a sanctuary around that. During the entire day, this time is actually quite a few opportunities when you're alone. And you can just get some peaceful rest and mind. So we have put that as a thought into the car, which means that we've got all these kind of semi-autonomous driving features, we've got the comfort levels that you would expect from a Volvo and higher, and we've got these kind of luxury materials that we're surrounded with. And on top of that, of course, the powered wheel systems, these kind of things. So please, when you're driving today, you will get around 4 hours in the car. Think about it a bit like that. That's what we're trying to convey. And we have all these kind of new interesting things. We've got crystal gear knob from Waterford in the T8, in the twin engine car. This one, some of you had the chance to experience it yesterday, others will experience it today. Normal car manufacturers put this into the normal concept car, crystal into the concept car, and then we have the production car. But we did it differently. Put that into the production car. Nicely illuminated, really nice touch to it. So, proud of that. What else?
Excuse me, could you say, what type of gear knob, what is the word you said?
Crystal.
Crystal.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you.
Actually, there are 3 workshops in Orrefors in Sweden that's working with just making this handmade crystal gear knob for us. I didn't see that kind of industry sector coming, I can tell you that. Okay, what else then? We had the chance to redo everything in this car, which is a dream for engineers and designers, a nightmare for program managers, because then you need to put everything new into one car, one platform. Really challenging. But of course, we also took the chance to redo the seat generation. And the inspiration, of course, you start with comfort. Seats need to be really comfortable. And you need to be able to enjoy that. And it needs to feel kind of like a hug. So, of course, we have worked a lot with different university hospitals, like the orthopedists, to get a nice, good shape. And we found out actually that if you form the seats like a human spine, it's a nice treat. It feels really good. And then, if you also at the same time then get inspired by the Scandinavian chairs and so, we work quite a bit with the thickness of the seat. Keep the comfortable level, decrease the size of the seat. What do you get then? Of course you get the comfort because we protect that, but you also get more leg extension in the second row. And it makes sense. Efficient design, but it also looks good.
Are these Recaro seats?
This is the car seat.
No, Recaro.
Sorry. No, it's not Recaro. It's our own solution. Yeah. And of course, you've got ventilation, leg extension, side booster cushions, electrical lumbar support, all these kind of features and bells and whistles that we like. Massage seats. And we have a sport seat apart from the comfort seat. If you then move into the driver environment, what does it look like? Well, it looks something like this. Rather busy situation, but what we did to become the leading in human-machine interface is that we decided to go full digital. So you have a head-up display in the windscreen. You have a driver information module, full digital, 12 inches. And then we've got this screen on this side, and I'll come back to that. But what we also decided is that we actually go with a now, in a while, and whenever strategy. What does that mean? That means how we take care of information and display that to the driver. So when driving a car today, you may be intrigued by the display in the instrument panel, and would like to play around with that. Please do. But for driving, the only thing you need is just in front of you. In the windscreen, head-up display, immediate turn left now, speed signs, speed that you're driving right now, all the things you need immediately to drive. Down here, here's where you can glance when you have time and check, all right, 2 streets ahead, then I'm going to turn left. That kind of information. But over here, you will never need that for driving. It's for entertainment, it's for comfort features, it's when you have time, standing at the red light, passengers working, have a good sight line so you can work with that. So for driving, focus here. When you have the time, enjoy this. And then it may look like an iPad. In a way, it is, but also in another way, it's definitely not. We would claim it's better than an iPad. And why is that? Well, it needs to work in an automotive environment. What does that mean? It means that you need to operate it with gloves during the winter time. You cannot do that with an iPad. So then we need to go for a different technology. So we've got infrared technology here that detects where you're going to work with your fingertips. So it's actually when you're 1 millimeter apart from the surface, then we know where you're going to push.
What size is that display?
It's roughly the size of an iPad 2, so it's about 9 inches. A bit larger than 9.2 inches, I believe it is. Yeah, on that diagonal. And on top of that, since its position in the instrument panel should not reflect any white shirts in the windscreen, because then that would be very annoying. So we've got a super nice filter on top, which you will see no kind of mimic of any kind of shirts into the windscreen, which also makes it better, of course. So all these kind of tricks and treats to get this position in a nice way.
Does the filter effect, does it dim in sunlight?
No, it does not. So, but you have two different modes. You can go with this mode, which is more the normal dark mode. But if you have sunlight, like in California, then you can go for a white screen as well. Then you kind of inverted mode.
Polarized lenses.
Absolutely, we will do that. So please, try it out when you have the time. What else could we work with is that we put a lot of research and thought into the system. And what we found out is that you do three things in the car. And we tried to focus on those three things. We did not say that you can do anything. And here is all the tons of settings and things, and hierarchies and menus and so on. You can do that. But what we focus on are three things. So you're going somewhere. You need to navigate. That's the first time. Then you typically would like to listen to something. So then you've got the media time. And the third tile is that you tend to use your phone. So those three things are always on top, always evident. And if you push one, you will see that the other ones, they compress. But they don't vanish. It's not like entering into a different tree. It just decompresses, you can push it once, and then you're there. The fourth tile, which you will be able to see in the car, we said, we don't really know what to use it for, let's see what the customer would like to use it for. Because we said we probably don't know everything. So we kept the fourth tile customized for the user. You can put in weather, you can put in news apps if you like, or you can put in, as it turned out, Apple CarPlay, which is pretty nice. And that is also the prime real estate of this entire screen. That is for the customer. It's where it's most easy to read, most easy to access on the prime spot. You will also see one more thing, and that's a small mannequin. That's the climate functions. And through the research we found out there are two different customers. One that puts us into 22 degrees, what would that be in Fahrenheit? Normal kind of temperature. And then they never touch it again. They're done. Never touch it. And then we have the other kind of customer that would like to change everything with the climate. They would like to have air on the feet and this degree on that side, this degree on that side, no climate in the rear, everything like that. So if you push the mannequin, then the entire screen becomes climate. And then you can get these kind of advanced users. For the rest, then we need to touch it. Okay, what else? Of course, we understand that it should be really intuitive, this interface. So we decided to go with the kind of Apple and Android gestures. So you can pinch, you can swipe, you can move around, just use what you're used to. And you can go in this mode. Okay, let's move on. What else? We also partnered up with Bowers and Wilkins. They're a strong brand when it comes to audio. So what did we do? We put in 19 loudspeakers. We put in a subwoofer, which got an open air subwoofer, which means that typically you put a box of a subwoofer into the car. Here we remove that box, put the subwoofer into the car in the rear wheelhouse, which means that the entire interior of the car becomes the subwoofer. So today, I've said it before, but I'll say it again, you'll be driving a subwoofer on wheels.
So what the subwoofer is in the cabin, or
No, it's in the rear wheelhouse. So
it's outside the car?
inside the car, but it's got an open air, so it's actually got an air inlet outlet in that wheelhouse. Yes. What we also did is that we partnered also up with this Swedish research firm that's called DIRAC.
Well, what?
DIRAC, D-I-R-A-C. What do? They have this great technology, and that enabled us to go into Gothenburg Concert Hall, put up all the sensors and mics and things like that. And then we took that kind of sound, put that into the car, using this technology. So when you're not driving today, you will be able to choose the Gothenburg Concert Hall, which takes you all the way to Gothenburg and gets this big, large sound. Totally different experience. Please try that out. What else? Seats. I mentioned that's very important. But what else is important? Well, we also decided to go with the theater-inspired seating. What that means, and this blue part should illustrate that. This seat is lower than this seat, which is lower than that seat, which makes that you kind of get a good visibility and sight, no matter where you're sitting in the car. Some of our competitors recently launched went the other way, which made us very, at least me, a bit pleased. So this seating position is really nice. Sorry?
Just recalling the Volvo, the C30
Yes.
was similar, but the back seats were also more centered.
Exactly.
Did you do that here?
We did it as well. I was actually part of the C30 program back in the days. What we did is that we moved the third row seat inwards, exactly what you see, because you don't want to see into the neck rest. You'd like to get a better view. You will see this also on the exterior part. We put in a rather big water glass window, which also enables you to get a good view, so we don't kick up the belt line like this, and then you don't see out when you're sitting in the second and third row. So it's really a luxury SUV, tailor-made for families, where you can carry around 7-seat passengers without any hiccups. So we moved that inwards. What else did we do? Also made it highly versatile, of course, because it's still a functional luxury SUV. You can move around, you can work the systems easily, very nicely. Of course, individually adjustable. Second seat, you can recline that if you're going for long distance driving. Really nice feature. So please pull the handle, push a bit back, and just enjoy the ride.
Are any of those seats power or manually actuated?
It's manual. In the second row and third row, you've got all manual. Third row seat, you will soon get an option of getting power up and down. So you can just by the push of a button in the center stack display, raise and fall.
When is soon? What do you mean?
That means different things to different markets. I'll come back to that, but not this year.
Sir,
Sure.
the second row seat here.
Second row seat is heated, yes. We also got an integrated child booster cushion on the centerpiece, and that's also in the cars that you will be driving today. Please try that out. What else did we do? Well, the third row seat. As you may notice, the design of the third row seat is the same as in the second and in the first. That is rarely found in these kind of cars. It's more like a spare seat. You may also notice that the width of the back seat is actually as wide as in the second row. That's also pretty unique. And you will be able to fit the 5 feet 6 inches person in that seat. It's really comfortable. But I can also go to city driving as I am, no problem at all in the third row seat.
Is that integrated child bolster seat new for you guys, or have you always had it?
Always had it. Had it even in the first generation XC90.
So the third row is designed for someone 5'6",
5'6".
Yes.
Really comfortable.
but you can sit there.
But I guess it's a typical ride when we're a bunch of guys go into the city. I can join in, no problem at all. So that's strong. What else? We also believe that when you're sitting inside, you have this feeling of light, roominess, kind of a lot of glass around you. Of course, you've got a panoramic roof. And if you've ever driven a Volvo XC60, panoramic roof is good, but this one is 50% larger. And of course, it's laminated, so it's good safety. We also did another few tricks. Someone mentioned that recognize a different kind of feeling from the exterior rear view mirrors, those ones yesterday when driving. And one point with those is that we put them in the shoulder. We do not put them here in the seat. What happens then is that you get a good visibility here, and also in this direction, which makes good for visibility, good for safety, more airy feeling. So check that out today when you're driving. Okay, what else? We believe that we have developed this kind of luxury SUV without compromises. And that will be even more evident when Mikael is talking about the powertrains and so on. Because we are really combining the low fuel economy with the performance. And he will come back to that in more details, but what could be worthwhile to mention is that the entire architecture is built around electrification. So when we looked into our strategy, we put high-tech, really high-tech, high-performing four-cylinder engines in the base. And then on top, we add electrification. And we do that in a safe, concise way. And that is by placing the batteries in the tongue console. Good for safety reasons, good for weight distribution, and you don't sacrifice anything in the third row, for example. So you will get this kind of 7-seat capability. You can put in the subwoofers, you can do all that kind of stuff, because we package the batteries in the tunnel. I'm just about to conclude, but what I would also like to touch upon is the chassis systems. In the front, with a short and long arm, that's what it's called. It's a double wishbone suspension. This is nothing unique, but it's the premium solution. This is the way to go. You get precise handling, individual tunings, and if you look into the rear, we actually do have a rather unique setup. We have this integral link. You can see that. But what we also have is this kind of composite leaf spring. It's good for packaging reasons. It also helps to get this kind of individual tuning per wheel. And as far as we believe, the Volvo 960 had this solution, and also the Corvette is using this solution. So here we go, rather unique, we would say. But what you may discover today, I'm not sure, it's all up to you, but what I perceive in the car is rather big SUV by European measures, perhaps a bit compact in your measures. But when you're driving it, it feels like a passenger car. You get this kind of agile steering. Please test out the different drive modes. So when you go setting comfort, try the dynamic. It gets more peppy, more agile, different steering forces, different chassis settings, different powertrain, different pedal mapping, everything like that. Just different nature of the car.
So this is the composite leaf spring in the rear, which is which part?
That is the green part.
That was used in the Volvo 960. Yes. In the late 90s.
Yes. Some years ago.
So you brought it back.
We brought it back.
Why did you give it up?
I believe that when we got into the Ford platform, that had no use in that. So when we got the chance, we brought it back.
And when did the Corvette use it?
I'm not really sure. I think they still are using that.
You said Corvette's been using it since the 60s?
Yeah, upside down leaf springs.
So it's a fun piece of technology to that one. And we will meet you in the evening, so we can continue to have the dialogue. One more question?
When you said that the adjustable drive mode,
Yep.
Stabilization.
is that adjusting the air suspension as well?
Yes, it does that as well. If you go for Eco, for example, then the entire car goes down. You get low aerodynamics, better aerodynamics.
Is it just height adjustments or does it just the rate of damage?
No, it's also how it interacts with the car. So it's all the way. But then I will leave over to Mikael, please.
Thank you, Dennis.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Fleiss. I'm the head of powertrain.
And I was working before Volvo at Volkswagen, and in between Volvo and Volkswagen and Bentley Motors. And what I'm talking now about is actually what has attracted me to join Volvo, because it's a scheme that was a fantastic opportunity to have a clean sheet of paper and create a new powertrain for this fantastic car. That's why I was joining Volvo 3 years ago. Yeah, it's a new four-cylinder strategy. And that might sound a little bit odd in the US market, 4 cylinders only, 2-liter displacement, but soon you will understand that, at least for us, it's the right strategy, and it's also great for this market. So what I have found when I was joining Volvo was a lot of different engine technologies. We have the V8 engine, the 6-cylinder engine, the 5 and the 4-cylinder engine on the gasoline side, and on the diesel side also 5 and 4-cylinder engines. And that was far too much engines for our volume, and we created an engine family which was basing on one diesel architecture and one gasoline architecture. With that we have slimlined our facilities when we produce these engines, and also created complete new technology in these engines. And now you would think, okay, now Volvo has saved money on the powertrain side and make more profit, but that's actually not the case. We have used this money to put into what Dennis talked about, the infotainment system, the seats and so on. And I'm not jealous to my colleagues from seats and infotainment, because I think they have created a fantastic car. It's right balanced. Yeah, the advantages of this engine is obviously wide span of power and torque. So the engine is ranging from 120 to well over 400 horsepower. Very fuel efficient. We are currently world-class leading when it comes to performance versus CO2. Obviously the decreased weight with less cylinders, you get less weight. And an efficient engine bay installation. The engines are mounted transverse. So we have a lot of cabin space and very short overhang, which creates a sexy design. So you see that on the XC90. Yeah, then on the gasoline, which is available on this market here, we have the variable valve system as a feature. We have friction reductions, and this is really based for good CO2. As I said, we have had the opportunity to create a complete new engine family. And by that, we have used all of the ideas which are around the world, combined it into this engine, which gives us this advantage compared to our competition. Advanced boosting systems, I come later on that one. Advanced combustion system, also very good for CO2. Very good combustion system on the gasoline and on the diesel side. And an advanced thermal management. There's an electric water pump here on the gasoline. Yeah, the T6 all-wheel drive engine is supercharged and turbocharged. So we have a turbocharger, which is shown here, and the supercharger over there. The supercharger is clutched, so you can switch it on and off.